Alright guys, it's Tuesday, day 14 or something like that. I've lost count, but been out for quite some time. And a little update. I did miss a couple more days. I was out camera again on my forgetfulness. I went in on Sunday for my appointment on Monday and didn't have my gear out here. And a couple days last weekend I had to send it in to get it recharged, but I'm out here again. Got the fire slow smoking to keep away the gazillions of insects, and a couple of the finds that I've acquired. Got a scene here is a fox skull, which I think is pretty neat. I come up with something interesting to do with that. Here's a bowl that I made out of, I'm fashioning into a tallow candle. You filling this with tallow and some and a wick to make a little candle, a light for it. And but that's about yeah, I lost my train of thought. Been out in the woods too long. Over here, I'm gonna have a video up in the future about this. I was able to find and process some raw clay. I'm not a genius when it comes to pottery or clay. I've never actually even done it before, other than, you know, like in school and stuff like that. But I can get this open. In my t-shirt here, I have processed some raw clay, a good bit of clay I got out of the ground, and I might take you up and show you a little bit later one of my scouts areas where I got it. But keeping it stored after I processed it, got all the impurities out of it and broke it down, got it all nice and even and consistent. Wrapped it up in this cotton t-shirt, and as long as I'm keeping the cotton t-shirt wet and keeping this in the shade, in a cool place, and out of the sun, that that clay will be nice and moist for whenever I decide to process it into something. But over here, I had a little friend stay at the camp with me yesterday, Harold, the turtle. But I just did a little video last night demonstrating how to, if you have an ability to keep your food alive, then you know, that food will not spoil. That's what this is here. It's just my little pen that I had Harold in for a little bit, just to demonstrate. I did not eat him. I'm not in a survival situation, so I did not need him. And also, it was a box turtle, which are could be poisonous for human consumption. But other than that, I have nothing exciting to share with you. I do have one thing I want to talk about. The other night, 2 days ago, we had a massive storm, and it soaked everything. It's been raining, I'd say, almost every day for the past week here, and you know, which made fire starting really bad. And you know, I showed you the area before, all picker bushes, a lot of beech trees, a beech tree forest, and a lot of oak and beech trees is pretty much all that's back here, and then all these picker brushes, and it got drenched. I mean, I was wet. It was miserable, and I was not happy. But and all my tinder got soaked, all my firewood was soaked, and it just made starting a fire yesterday morning very difficult. But we're gonna go on a little walk, and I want to show you something that you gotta keep in mind when you're in an environment like this. I'm in this kind of environment right now, but just down the road it could be a completely different scene. And when you're in that survival mindset or self-reliance mindset, you got to look outside you know, this is a micro environment of what I'm in right now, just around my camp, you know. But a little bit walk down the road or down a path or through the bush, and you might find something completely different. So we're going to head that way, and I'm going to show you what I was talking about. Alright, now when I was in my camp, if I would have walked 10 minutes in either opposite direction of what I've walked just now, I would have stayed in dense, wet, deciduous forest. And you can see 5 minutes down the trail, not even, and I'm in a completely started to turn into a completely different area. As you see, I'm in a lot of sandy area, and it's starting to open up, and it's noticeably warmer. It's starting to get pine trees, so a completely whole different environment than I was in, plus a whole lot more resources available. Obviously, I have pine trees. That means I have pine resin available, pine needles available, and I also have sand available, which in my camp area, all I have is wet, muddy dirt and whatever debris is on the ground. So we're going to continue ahead, and we'll keep seeing what differences we see. If I could have stayed in that deciduous forest, you know, where looking for food sources and animals could have been a whole lot more difficult, which it is. Not much prints available, not many signs, and with all the rain, a lot of the scat and feathers, fur, and whatnot, you know, are disappearing or getting covered up with leaves. But like I said, out here, just 10 minutes now down the trail, in all the sandy region, it's a lot easier to track animals. We have these small little. This is actually a little tiny baby deer I've been following. You can see by all the tracks over here. I've been walking up and down this trail for the last couple of days, but I can come out here and notice, you know, what times of the day, find out between the times of the day. If I walk down this trail and see no tracks, then I see tracks again, and then the next day I see another set of tracks at the same time. You know, I can get an idea of the patterns of the animals, and so laying in traps or laying in a hunt site to harvest an animal for food is a lot easier. You know, this is all tidbits that I'm gaining from just leaving my area and wandering around. And I'm gonna have a video up, another separate video on scouting, reconning an area, exploiting it for all its resources, and an easy method of doing that. But if you are in that survival situation, you know, you have to get up and get away from just sitting in your camp and sulking and thinking, oh, you're lost, or you're in a situation, and just staying put in an area expecting to be rescued, or thinking that, or at least the mind frame of thinking that all you have is what you have available right there, when you can get up and walk either direction, in all directions, and find something completely different. And I want to discuss that in another video, but we're still on the trail down to this area I wanted to show you. Alright, right where that trail begins is where I was able to harvest that clay from. And now I'm in the area I want to show you, which is this big, huge, open, sandy area. Now, keep in mind that this is Maryland, okay? We're not in the desert, but being it's summer, when the sun hits this spot, it is hot. It's desert. For lack of being able to explain it any better, for someone that's been in the desert a few times, it's just as if you're in a desert environment with the sand reflecting all this heat. And that being said, with the sun baking straight down on it, everything you find here is super dry. And I mean, all these pine cones, the sticks, the leaves, everything just bakes in the sun and dries out. Now yesterday, like I told you, yesterday it stormed, it rained all day, the day before, the night before, and all through into the morning. So that area where I was camped at, was completely soaked. And believe it or not, Sarge Speakman failed starting about 3 fires. I just could not get nothing lit. My tinder was soaked, everything was soaked. But I knew about this area up here, so I walked down here. And believe it or not, when everything was soaking completely wet at about 10 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, out here it was about maybe a 30-degree temperature difference. Everything was bone dry, and it was hot. And everything was brittle. Everything was easily sparkable. So I was able to collect myself some tinder and go back there and start another fire. And and it was just like this. I mean, it was dry. Everything snapped. And a lot of dried pine branches, which are great for starting a fire. And meanwhile, the whole time back in my area, it was completely soaking wet. No dry wood, no dry nothing. I mean, if we walk around this area, It's hard to see on the camera, but how baked in the sun everything is. And if you've ever been to a desert environment where everything is just baked by the sun, it's real easy to start a fire, and with stuff like that. And so the wood, the branches that you find that have been getting baked year in and year out, it resembles a lot like driftwood, where it's super dry and it takes heat and takes a spark and a flame very easy. And that's what I was able to find out here. I collected up a lot of the stuff that was in this area, so there's not too much left. But it was a big difference. And now, if I was new to this area and didn't know this area, and I was lost or stuck back in the area where I have my camp, and I just hunkered down in there thinking, woe is me, I don't have nothing, and I can't start a fire, I would have failed. I would have not had a fire. I would have not been able to get everything dry, stay warm, cook my food. But if you get out of that mindset of thinking, in your own microenvironment, that's all you have. If you get out and walk, I'm only 10 minutes down the trail, and it's a completely different environment. It's all pine forest. It's all sun, sandy. So it's a great place to find resources. And even if you don't want to be in that wet, damp, cold environment, you can come out here where it's warmer during the day, it stays hotter during the day, and a lot drier and dries out quicker. Because even during that huge downpour, it completely dried out. So keep that in mind whenever you're out, even if you're out just enjoying nature and camping or whatnot. Do a little bit of a reconnaissance around your area and see what environment you have around you. 10 minutes down the trail could be a whole different place. Just like I was saying earlier about how wood out here is dry, really super dry, sun-baked driftwood, and it just cracks, brittle, breaks apart. And like I said, just an hour or so, a couple hours after rain and a storm, all this dry plant here just completely crackles. And like I said, back at my campsite, it's completely soaking wet. It's cold, damp, mildewy, puddles of water, all the wood's soaking damp. But 10 o'clock in the morning, it's just like this out here in this sand dune area, where the wood is dry, it's been baked by the sun, plants are dry and brittle. Okay, just an interesting thing out here in this trail, there's no water in this area up in this sand dune area. It's actually on top of a high ground, and there's no lake, creek, pond, river, or whatever. So whenever it rains, the water pools up here, and this little pool of water is showing me some animal activity. Obviously, we see some big turkey tracks there, and then we also have a little tiny bird track. We also have what appears to be little rabbit tracks there, and what might be a raccoon or something else. But there's numerous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sets of tracks that I noticed myself just with one I know on here. And the reason being is because all these animals are collecting to this. When it rains, they know that this pools up with water. For a couple days, the water stays here, so they, throughout their day, make a trip over here and get a drink of water. And you can see I got plenty of cover, concealment. This would be a great spot to either set up a trap or just sit and wait to hunt. With this water spot here, because it's going to be drawing attention. It's just water is just as much bait as a piece of meat or a piece of dead carcass, or a worm on a hook. Water is just as much bait, as the same as bait. You know, especially in an area like this where it's sandy, desert-like, arid, no water, animals are going to come to the water. Keep that in mind if you're ever in a situation where you need to hunt and locate food. You know, you can bait the animals with water as well as anything else.